Hello, 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 everybody. Everybody, everywhere. We're going to do Star Bloom glasses, and we're going to get on to our next steps. And I was thinking, I just realized I keep grabbing to move Smurf out of my way. I'm in front view, and I'm grabbing this and moving her, and this is her mesh, and we turned it on. We turned that on, and I'm like, okay, where do we do that at? And we don't want to move her in her mesh. See what happens, because she's parented to an armature. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z, and undo that. And where we want to move her at, I'm gonna click our reference image that we brought in here. I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to come over here to data. And this is the empty image. This image is also an empty. The empties are interesting. They hold things. And I'm going to come down here to where it says opacity. And I'm going to turn this down like this. Okay, and I'm zooming in, and we had turned her mesh this on, I believe. Let's select the mesh, the 3D mesh character, and we can come up here to overlays and turn on wireframe like I like to do. And there's our opacity. And also I was showing you guys and myself again. So I remember if you come up here, or actually, okay, we're on her mesh. We've selected her. We went to overlays, turned them on, and we came down here to wireframe, and we ticked on the geometry wireframe and then the opacity. Now, if we come over here to the orange cube icon, object properties, and we select that, and we come down here to viewport overlays, right here, viewport overlays. Now we have the yellow, and we can change the colors of the mesh here. There, I changed it to pink, blue. I'm scrubbing across this color, and I just want to remind us that's where you can change the colors, and then you can now see we are in the rendered, but we can't change the opacity there. We have to come to solid, I think. Or wait, did we? Let's make sure we're selecting her. Come here. Where were we? See how easy it is to get lost. Here is material preview. And here is X-ray. That's transparency. Now, let's go back to rendered, because we were just here looking at it. Now, where did it go? Oh, you see how easy it is to forget where things are? Let's just go down over the overlays. Hello. So it's here where we can play with the opacity. But do you see how it's spread around? I mean, we're talking about looking at her mesh, right? And we are selected our mesh. We're in rendered mode. And then here we can check on object, wireframe color. Then when it's in object mode, we have some options, only the options are in this box. See, theme, random, object. So we pick the object wireframe here in rendered. Then we come over here to the left in overlays, and we can choose the geometry opacity. There we go. And we can also tick it off so it's not on at all in rendered mode. We can tick it on, and then we can come over here to the cube, the orange cube, object properties, and come down to viewport, and then we can change the color. So we can scrub here, we can make them blue or green. And it looks like when we go to the white, to the scrub down to the black, it just becomes white. And that's probably something to do with settings in another place that I don't know about. But we can change the right here. We can keep it in a light color, and we can give it a tint. And it really does matter, especially when you're zoomed out. It looks cool and glowy. I love it. And also, if we come over here to modifiers, I have a subdivision modifier on here, and I don't have it set to any levels, but if I click 1 to 1 there, it's smoothing out my my mesh, but it's also giving us double vertices, and that is going to cause your RAM to jump up. So be real careful, especially if you're on a Neo or a slower machine. You can turn things on and off if you want, but be careful when you get ready to render. Like, you can hide things. You can select your mesh and go in to object edit mode and hold your cursor over things like this, or select things on your own. There, I think we've got, what have we got? Do we have just the, if we pull this out, we pull the crosshair bars and we pull this out. And then we select this and go to UV editor. We have her UVs from her mesh laid out. So we can always hide things while we work and play carefully with the subdivision modifier, which is what I do. So let's see, I think maybe her hat is white. So if I hover my mouse right here over her mesh and I click L, it will select that. And that's part of her hat. And then I can hit H to hide it. And I do need to be in edit mode to select these things. And there's her hat right here. Some more of her items laid out. And if we click here in image view to the right, there's a little arrow. And let's see, tool, image, where is it? Vertices. It's here somewhere. Oh, view as render. No, we want view repeat image. And that's why we have, because the image automatically kind of repeats. And we don't see it when we have this ticked off. But that's why some of our polygons are over here laid out, our islands. So if we come over here and we select, hold our cursor. Sometimes you have to click in a whole nother window. It'll get that little dot thing where there'll be just one, and then you won't see it, and you'll select this, and you'll grab it to move it, and it will do that. So sometimes I will move my mouse just to the opposite window, like over here, and I'll click on it, and then reselect it by hovering my mouse and hitting L to select that, and then H to hide. And then, so if you wanted to work on I'll go to solid mode for a second here, and I'll come over here and I'll click this off so you can see. With my subdivision, if you have this little guy checked, it kind of shows you the mesh around the edges there. See the mesh? And you can turn it off while you're working. We also have the transparency on. Right here, we can tick that off. And so that's a good way to work on your models, is selecting and hiding. And then when you rotate and you move around your scene, see how if your computer's lagging or slow. And that will help you a lot. So we're in edit mode with the character. And so that's during modeling. And then you can turn the subdivision modifier on and off. And then to apply the modifier, you just go in either edit mode or object mode, I think it works, where you can, I'll delete it in edit mode and then re-add it, since she's already been selected out here in object mode. See, and then right here on modifiers. And then we're going into edit mode, editor now, I think. Generate subdivision surface, like that. And it adds it there. So it's fine to add it here. And then be careful going up, and it'll make it smooth. And if you turn the optimal off, it automatically ticks the optimal display on, I think. And now when you turn it off, see, you can see she's going to have that many more polygons on her. They're going to be duplicated twice, which makes her smoother. And then it also kind of makes it more stretchy when you're modeling. So I could click on my select box, and I like to use the select circle. You just hold your mouse down and drag down and then select the circle. And then now I can stay like this and edit her face and hit the G key to grab it. And then you can model like that. And you can also use your proportional editing, which helps slide things on and off. So zooming into her like this, I'll do her nose. I'll select some of these vertices, shift select, and then rotate her around. And they will select all the way through if you tick on your X-ray. You want them to select all the way through, or you just don't want to select all the way through. So there. So her nose is selected, and now if we tick on proportional editing, it gives us these options, and this is the sizer. That's how much it's gonna basically move the rest of the character. And she's bring it down to the 4. And now if I scale, hit S, scale, you see, it'll pull the part of her mesh, which is cool. And then her eyes are separate, so I'll undo that, but you can play with that and you hit S, and this box will pop open, and then you can use your proportional editing like this. And you can change the different smooth, sear, sharp, and it'll help you. And that's kind of nice. But notice these vertices are not applied yet in the subdivision modifier. So I can continue to go back and forth on here, removing them to keep my vertice count down or add it up, because we can also use the subdivision modifier. And I'm going to undo what I did. I'll Control Shift Z to redo, and now I can tab into sculpt mode, and we can also use the sculpt brush in here with her, and I'm on draw, and there's grab, but draw is fine. And if we turn on, if it's not already on, I can edit, I can Control Z to undo that. And then if I turn the Z axis on while I'm in sculpt mode, and I can also hit, let's see, to scale up my brush, I think, whoops, edit and do that. And I'm on scale. Oh, I'm back in edit mode, sculpt mode. Now with the, I can hit the F key to resize my brush, or right up here, size, strength, turn my X back on because I want it to work either on the X or the Z. And so we can work in here and do this. And we can play around here and toggle back and forth from edit. What did I do? It looks like I accidentally deleted her. Let's go back. I somehow hit a shortcut and I deleted her modifier. It's always something. Okay, so object mode, edit mode, and just a shortcut on how to add a keyboard shortcut to add a modifier, Control 2 or Control 1. Okay, so we can just select our mesh again and hit Control 1 on the keyboard and give it a second. I wasn't waiting long enough, and it automatically added a subdivision modifier. And we can like tick this off so we can see, or tick it back on, because this is where the the vertices will be able to be grabbed when she has her subdivision on at the lower place, at the lowest places. And then they'll duplicate when you turn it on, and you can see you won't be able to select those vertices. I went to vertice mode. See in there until you apply the subdivision modifier. So you go edit mode, and then you can't apply the subdivision modifier in edit mode. You have to go tab back to object mode, and then you can apply it, which I'll do, show you. Oh, it can't be applied with key shapes. So she's got key shapes on her mouse, so I'm not going to bother adding her. But if you come in here, you can apply her. You can delete your key shapes, and then you'll have to reanimate what you have. But I'm showing you that you can play around with your subdivision modifier, which I do. And you can see how it makes her smooth, but it will also, like I said, it will be a lot more on your CPU and your GPU in your computer. So she can just stay like this, and she's low poly. Okay, I guess I got off topic. I'm going to have to try harder and call this video something else, but we'll start a new one and we'll work on her glasses. Maybe this one will be about the subdivision modifier, and also I just love playing with this. So here we are. We're in the solid view, and I'll go back to rendered view. And we're talking about moving her also. So we can select her mesh and then go into edit mode and work on her polygons and her vertices, her faces. And then we can move her not on her mesh in object mode. Control Z or Command Z to undo that. What we want to do is we want to select her again. We want to move her on our empty object right here. This little slingshot or Y, sideways Y. And then we can move her here. And we can also move her on her bones. She will, if she's not parented, but her object will get left behind, which we need for animation. So getting her back on there, I did show you in another video how to, if you move her off of her empty object, and you end up moving her like this, you move her down, and then she's there. You can see she's not on her object. Close enough. And just real quick, if you do that again, you have to come up to options here, and you have to click parents to transform it, and now you can slide it back. So it's not difficult. I mean, it can seem that way when you don't know where to move it to. So again, now turn off parents. So if a parented object gets moved from your character, even her mesh, she gets like this accidentally, and you're going back and forth to edit mode, and you get back, don't panic. Just go to object mode, select the character, and then come up here to this little arrow. Where is it? And drag this out. If it's closed all the way, there'll be that little tiny arrow right there. Click it, and then in item, transform, let's see, hold your mouse over, let's see, the location, I believe. Let's hit L and see what happens. So you'll hit this, not L, but backspace. There. So she'll pop back on to her bones and be straight again. Because we edited her mesh in edit mode. And we hid her hat, so that's why her hat's not showing. And then going back to object mode. And the same thing with the armature. Click the armature and then edit mode. And you can edit her armature here. Back in a object mode. And then select her armature and you can go to pose mode. And in pose mode, this is where you're going to move her around. So G to grab and move. And I'm going to edit and do that. R to rotate. Okay. So how are we doing? We're doing good. Rotate, rotate, rotate. And then you can hit A to select all and come up here to pose mode, clear, transform all, and I have a keyboard shortcut 4. So there we have that. Okay, so let's figure out turning off. I think I turned her on. I'm going to select her mesh. And I turned this on looking for something. And let's go to solid mode. We see this a little better. And let's click actually we go to tab into object mode and select this. Oops. Tab into object mode. Oh, it's going back and forth to pose mode. So object mode, and then let's select my background reference image up here in the edges. Select it and hide it for a second. Let's come over here and hit period key holding your mouse. And let's hide it right here on the eye for a second. Let's select the mesh. Hit the period key to zoom her in a little bit on the numpad. And let's rotate her around a bit. Okay, now we were turning this off and I wanted you to see it a little better. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to come up here, over here in this little arrow next to solid view and click arrow. And I come down here and I'm going to click right here, background, custom. And I'm going to turn this up there a little bit. I'm clicking and sliding up here. So I wanted you to be able to see this a little better, and me too. I'm so busy making everything look cool that I can't see. So this is on. Now let's come over here and drag this out and pull the property box up. Now let's come over here to her object, orange square, and come down to viewport display. We were playing with this, and I think see here where it says axis, display the object's origin and axis. That's what we had turned on. And doing that, I was able to click it. Actually, there's a bone there. Maybe that's what I was selecting. No, that's not what I was selecting. Maybe it is. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to edit. I'm going to Control Z or Command Z that. But I turned that off. Let's turn it back on and play with it a bit. Axis. It's on. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, I am able to click it. See the axis there comes out. So I'm able to select her axis and move her from there. I don't normally turn this on or play with it. So many things. So I must be clicking it and then hitting that, and then see it's moving our mesh. So let's Control Z or Command Z and undo that. And that's her mesh. So let's turn that off. And then now what we would select is, this is her, what we want to select. This is where she is. Right here, move. This is her parented object. So both of her mesh, all of her is parented to this. So it's moving her like this. So we want to move her here. But I just want you to be reassured that there's a way, if you mess her up and you're working and you're animating, you're like, oh no. So if you move her mesh like this, again, accidental. And then you go back and forth and you space out and you find like you've moved her, but you didn't mean to. You just want to come up here and then hold your cursor, come up here to this whole thing. You can hit it with N. This is the shortcut N. Hover your mouse and hit backspace. And that will clear her up. So again, no need to panic. So we can move her accidentally just a little bit and all this, whatever. And we can hold your mouse, hit backspace. And I also think that maybe you can right click and just zero it out. And you can, if all these get off, you can click down, drag, holding your mouse, and then zero it out. And 1 scale always stays 1, but 0 on rotation. So if she got rotated, it's 0. Click 0. And that's why we always, when we make a new object and we set it, we always apply. We say object, apply, and we apply the rotation and scale. So that's something to play with and practice with. Yay! So that's important, I think, because I think a lot of times you're working so hard, you're spending a lot of time. You get your character put together, and then all of a sudden you think it's broken. And maybe you forgot to save a backup. So I'm just going to hit save, and it gets emotional. So here we are, and then so that is we did good. Good studying, good working, good practicing, good playing. Okay, so that was nice to know that her mesh, now going over this, that it's her mesh when we accidentally move it away from her armature, and we hit grab and move it, and we hit N to open up our transform, go to item. We hold the cursor over and we hit the backspace. She gets repositioned to her armature. That's where her location is. Now, if I select this parented object and I see here, she's moved here or back like this, and I hit backspace, she's going to jump back to the center where she started. This was originally set back here. If I apply her and I move her here and I say, and I come over here and to item, and while she's positioned in the X here, and I say object, which would be her empty object, I say object, apply location. Now she's zeroed out. So she's zeroed out right here. So now if I move her, hit N to close that out of my way. So now if I select her, oh, look, she's zeroed out, and that's where she goes. It stays there, the location, in that center of the universe. So this is interesting. Okay, I'm looking at this closer. I don't think we can apply, I think location will always return to right here where we go Shift A or Control A, no, Shift S. We say cursor to world origin. Well, the world origin is always right here. I'll say Shift S, cursor to world origin. This is the world origin on the axis, or the X, Y, and Z. Right here it says in overlays, guides, the X, Y, and Z for the world. That's the 3D universe, the world space. And whenever we have an object, it seems, and we zero it out, right here in location, it always returns to that space. So we always add, that's why we must, because if I put her out here and I try to apply, and I say object, apply all transactions, notice this is still in this place. So I'm going to undo that, and she is on this. So her character stayed out there, but I applied 0, and usually anything will go back to. So we always apply scale and rotation, and we don't mess around with trying to apply location, because the object will always return, I believe. If I select the glasses and I can apply the scale and the rotation, scale will be 1, rotation 0, but location, if I hit 0 or I zero it out, look, the whole thing goes always to the origin and the center of the world space. So that is why I'm glad we're having this study. We can apply, we can bring her back and just say Shift S, selection to cursor. Now she's back there. So we can place this cursor anywhere we want and tell an object to be there. And we can, if we don't apply the scale and the rotation on an object, it will mess up our animating it. So we always build a new object. Notice we've been working on these glasses, and the scaling will be applied when we're finished, and then we'll start animating them. But as far as the location goes, I think any object with all objects have this, and hide that, have that origin point right here, that little yellow dot. And so whenever we hit the location, now it's always going to return to the center of the universe, which is backspace, like that. We don't want that. So it takes practice to learn that, but we do always apply the scale and the rotation. And I'm glad I'm studying this with you because I'm learning a lot. I mean, it's solidifying the things that sometimes I'm just so busy doing art and playing and having fun that I don't really think I'm not the most intelligent person on the planet. I do like to paint though. So yay. So hopefully we've learned that. But after a character like this, this character, not all of them will be on a parented object, which they should be, because then we can animate them and move them where we want in the universe. We can hit grab and we can put them up in the air. And we can keyframe them up there. And then we can move them where we want. And then they'll animate. And then they'll stay. And then we can also go select the armature, click pose mode, and then we can move her here so she can be dancing in the air and moving. Yay! And those won't stay there unless I keyframe them. But once they're keyframed, then she'll always be animating on an empty. So we do have to go back to object mode. So with all the other objects in the scene, like I'm gonna animate her a bit. So let's just pull this up, and that's actually she's already animated here, but yeah. So she jumped back, but I'm gonna pull the scrub bar out here. She's not animating, and I'm gonna turn on. See, this is the nonlinear, and this is the. I'm gonna switch this to timeline. Pull it up. Move this bar out of my way on this side. I'm gonna pull this up. So she's animated way back there. And I've got her keyframe right there. So with her I'll turn on automatic keyframing and I will select her empty object that she's on and scroll it up, and that'll keyframe her there. And I believe if we look at this is the timeline, and we come down here and we look at the dope sheet underneath, this is not the dope sheet. I'll switch it to the dope sheet. And this is her. So we can see that this is Smurfette, her location right here, and all of these were turned on, the scale, the rotation, and the location. And then I move it down some, and I'll minimize object transforms, and this is Smurfette, and I want to move her with the, I'm going to select her in the scene, select her, I'm going to switch this to outliner so we can see her here, and close these others up. Just click and drag your mouse down to close your windows or your folders to collapse them. And then we're on Smurfette right here. And this is our animation information right here. Animation. But select her right here, collect this. And then I moved her down so we can move her over here. And then I'll move her. Oh, I'll slide the scrub bar down a bit. Or am I sliding? Oh, that's pretty far, but I'll just click and drag. Hold your mouse down and click and drag. And then move her over here. And this is helpful. This little box. And then scrub down, and I will set my key, my player, because there's a lot of frames, and I want it to just play right here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see, I think P, I can, yeah, P, click and drag over these keyframes. And I'm selecting just that area. And so I think in selection, see, where is it? Box select, and it makes the play frame here. And it's up here, see, 258 to 256, and down here it's showing this is the timeline, this is the dope sheet, but it's showing start and end, and that's just a quick way to get your keyframes, and then you can click the space bar and it'll play. So my point is we're now animating her, and it's fast. So I can click and drag and select these and hit S and scale them out a bit. Maybe a little bit more. And then P to select these. And let's see if it's a little bit slower. But let's make it even slower. Okay, so let's select these, drag them down to the right even further, and let's now scale them up and then drag them back down. Then P. There we go. But it looks like I've got some. I got it wrong right down. Oh boy. Okay, well, let's play that. Dun, dun, up. Look at my glasses. Aren't they cool? Okay, so very cool. She's too far out from her glasses, but she's animating. Let's look at how cool she looks. Oh my goodness, she's so awesome. Okay, are we animating? Yes, we are. Are we happy? Yes. Okay, so let's see. We can pull her back. So here she's here. This is fine. She goes up, left, and right, but that's okay. I think we can just right here, we can select her right there, and we can click on her, pull her back, and that will set her there. And that's automatically adding a keyframe because we have auto keying on. But what will happen now? Is she gonna go? Yeah, she's gonna go out the wrong way. So from here, we can pull her back. Oh, I moved the scrub bar up there. Now click the scrub bar there on that keyframe and pull her back. There we go. I guess we can move her down too. We just hide these things by animating the camera. I'll slide her down here. Okay, and sliding that, and then pull her down. Yeah, pull it down. There we go. Now she's dancing on her sunglasses. She's flying up like that. Oh, they're so cute. Okay, that's okay. So we could spend forever, but you get the point. We're learning together, okay? Scrub, scrub, scrub. There. She's up, she's side to side, and then she's back. Let's see, and then we can also, with scrub back down here to this frame, and let's copy that keyframe right here in this position. Select it, and let's see, yeah. Shift D to duplicate it. Oops, what did I do? Click to deselect that last one. Is that her? Yeah. See, she's moving. That's so cool. Let's see what happens. So we've selected the key in the dope sheet. Smurfette. I mean, the timeline. And let's click and drag down. These are her items that are all of her items. And this is the dope sheet, and this is the timeline. Okay. Now, do we copy that yet? Okay, Shift D and drag this down here. And then it's going to go up. She's going to go up and back and on the glasses to the right and the left and then back down. And just pull this in, and then I'll just drag this into this space. Let's see how that is. Okay, cool. Perfect. Let's save. File save. How are we doing? Okay. So this whole I'm going to make glasses turned into a whole new video. I've got to stay on track. But Smurfy, Star Bloom and Smurfy will help me to stay on track because we're learning together. It's fun. Look, the sun is shining. So my point was, and I'll keep going because my point was we just animated her on her empty item that she's parented to. And now let's just select her bones, click the period on the numpad on your keyboard. And now with her bones selected, we can go tab into pose mode. And then let's see. Better keep her here. Let's move her here so I can see the keyframe. And I'll hit R and I'll rotate her arms down, selecting her shoulder bone, and the name is there, upper arm. And if you want to see that, you have to make sure that in overlays, general info is on, ticked on, viewport overlays. So then when you switch her bone to her bone will be named. So there we go. And then we can rotate her arm like this. And up, high. And then we have the auto keyframe on, so it's setting keyframes. Hi, hey. It's kind of a, let's move that up and forward and up. And we can select a wrist and move it back. Whoops. So try to remember, like I keep saying, and I have to take my own advice. So if I hit R on the keyboard now, I can scale this out and I can hit X, Z, Y. I can rotate her too a bit. And I can pull her hand back. There we go. Okay, that looks cute. So we can animate her like this. So my point is that scrubbing down here, we can keyframe her wherever, move her here, move her head, moving down the timeline, forward maybe, move there, and I purposely selecting in between the other frames so that you can see her. You can turn on show only selected. I'm going to turn it back off so that all the things that have keys on them are here, I think. Or, well, I don't know exactly what to say about that. But there we go. So, moving her down. And then I'm moving her up here on with the hand tool, moving the view. You can move her by hitting Alt. Let's just give her the splits while she's up. You can hit Alt Shift to move her with the hand, or rotate her with Alt, or you can just use your little hand right here on the view. And then you can also use your rotate that came up. So we can move her here, and we can maybe move her there, do that. She's going to be a mess, but we can always clean her up. You know, we can spend 5 years, but we can get her into play. So we can see her that she's going to animate as she's moving on the empties. Here's the empty. And that's the empty. And you can see view, show only the empty. And now we can so let's see. Oh wait, look, I forgot about this part, but that's okay. We can pull her back here, and she's selected, so I'll hit the period on the num key, and there she's there. And hit the tab. And she's gonna play. Hey. We can turn this overlays off to see, kind of. And then we can animate the camera and get her moving all around. So yay. Woohoo! She's adorable. And then we can animate the camera. We'll do that soon in the next lessons, in the next plays. And I will show you really quickly. See, she's a little bit rough, but if I select her, turn the overlays back on, and I come down here, come over here, go back to properties, to her modifier. See, her modifier's off, 0, and I add 1. See, it kind of smooths her out. And if we come here, turn wireframe off, we can see she's smoother, but she has a lot more vertices. So it's really awesome, yes, to have, you know, the power of the subdivision modifier, but you still have to have the right amount of power on your computer and the money to buy it. So something to think about. Got to be wise with our money. So I think that's good. I think this is long enough. Woohoo! And I had so much fun because I feel like I'm doing this with you. So now we're going to have to start a whole new lesson and new classes. But we ended up animating anyway, which is what I want to do. So we're going to put glasses on top of her and then animate her. All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you, and God bless you.